my name's Jessica Bingham. I am an artist, painter. I received my master's at Bradley University and I went to undergrad at Monmouth College. I'm currently the curator at University Galleries of Illinois State University, and I'm also an independent curator alongside that through Project 1612, which is an alternative exhibition artist-run space in Central Illinois. I hope viewers can find the beauty and the messiness of a lot of this work. Like I said, I'm taking threads off the sides, I'm mushing wildflowers into the paint. The work it's a little bit more muted than what I normally would do, in a way to find a sort of balance in the way that this current world feels right now. So I'm hoping that they take away, I guess, an ability to find beauty within the messy, especially during this year. And I think a lot of people have been able to reflect on what life has felt like before versus what life feels like now. Being able to slow down and find small moments of wonder in a lot of the work, to engage in their curiosity with what a garden could be, even if it's just a flower pot, and being able to watch that bloom and hold so much joy within such a small object. It's changed my work has changed so much because I find myself that I'm making more for me, and I'm also responding better to the world, in subtle ways. So let's see, maybe 5 years ago I was thinking I need to make installations and I need to make photography and I need to make paintings and they need to be big and they need to be this or that. And I've had a couple different life shifts and changes that have asked me to slow down, that have required me to slow down. And so I think that my work has just become a little bit more intuitive than in just a short period of time, and also more decisive. I've become more decisive. I'm not questioning every single mark that I make, but allowing them to live and be as I've placed them, not necessarily the first time or the second time, but just trusting myself a little bit more in the studio. Watching and paying attention to, again, the garden and these small changes that happen, it seems, just overnight. Watching my daughter change and grow, and how things that she make influence myself. Teaching has influenced my work, working with young students, young artists, I should say, who are also quite decisive and certain, and also paying attention to artists that I surround myself with, in the way that, I guess, being more curious in the studio. So I don't know, I just always have this idea that and maybe I shouldn't, but for myself, that they are so much a part of me. And I'm not that I'm not delicate with myself and with other people's emotions, but this object that I'm making is so closely connected to my body that if I want to step on it, I can step on it. And it's not an act of, it's not being dismissive of the object, it's just appreciating it as an extension of who I am. And so she'll sometimes walk right on the fresh paint. But she's also very curious in watching how I'm making a mark, and then she'll make a mark on her own painting, or she'll want to add something to mine, and sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it feels like, hey, that's my painting. Like I'm still an artist, and I want to teach her also that respect of an artwork, although she may see me tearing this thing up and it's very confusing, but having that playfulness in the studio is very important to me. So she's right there alongside of me.
Yeah.
So I've included wildflowers in the works, in some of the works, not all of them, but they're hand stitched into, using the canvas thread, hand stitched back into the canvas. And I was thinking of this, using the wildflowers and the seeds. Some of the seeds have been mushed into the paint, and thinking of that as a way, almost like pushing them back into the soil. What will happen if I were to take all these wildflowers and dry them and put them back into the soil? So it's this it's this cycle, watching a cycle happen. And much like those wildflowers in the garden, the seeds would bloom again, of course, or hopefully. But the canvas itself is actually all recycled canvas too. So I saw a really strong connection between the canvas, the paint that's pre-existing on the canvas, and then the wildflowers, and how they both have a life cycle. And it's being able, for me, to be able to take previous works and rework them and revisit them, just as if I would rework and revisit the garden come spring again. So a lot of the canvas bits, and they're all irregular shapes, they either come from previous paintings of my own, or they come from paintings from collaborators or friends or past students. I've cut them down, taken the threads, the loose threads out from the edges of the canvas, and sewn those back into the canvas itself. So everything in one way or another has been repurposed, salvaged, reused, collected, just like I am collecting the seeds to take the seeds of this year to replant the garden for next year. Yeah, so some of the works, some of the paintings, previous paintings, I've cut or I've ripped, and it leaves the shreds on the edges of the canvas. And so that's what I'll take and reuse. In some instance, I might have like an old piece of, like a vertical piece of canvas, strip of canvas, that then I continue to take the thread out of that single piece of canvas and reuse into multiple works. But what I find that I'm most drawn to is when I can take a painting, rework it, cut it up, rework it, reconfigure it, and use that same thread from that canvas to sew the piece back together. So it's, in a ways, I kept thinking of it as mending, but it's really more of a mending of works. It's, I was talking to a friend who had, I'm using some of their canvas, their painter, Heather Braumeyer, and so talking to her about, she's a collaborator and a professor of mine, but talking to her about amending versus amending, and amending of friendships, and amending of gardens, and amending of a home. It's not that you are taking something that hasn't already existed, but you're taking what's already there and bringing it back as a whole again. So each one of these paintings, even though they're smaller than the original works, I find them to be more whole, more finished in a lot of ways, than what they had come from before. Because I think the amount of time from those initial works to now, there's been a lot of growth within just myself and the way that I'm functioning in this world, and how much has changed within the span of time from, say, 2015 to 2020. I mean, a lot has happened. So really it is an amending and finding something to be beautiful again. Showing at the McLean County Art Center is important to me because I feel very connected to this community, and I'm working to connect more to this community. So I live in Morton, Illinois, which is between Peoria and Bloomington Normal. And I'm still finding my roots in Morton. I'm just lived there for a year now. But I'm also see myself as someone who is working between both of these places. And obviously I work at Illinois State University. So this community is incredibly important to me. The art community, the students, the faculty that I have the privilege of working with. And so I'm really thrilled for a lot of them to see my work, and to engage with them on those levels of conversations, and also thinking about the the other artists who have come before me at McLean County Arts Center, coming to many exhibitions over the course of a few years, and thinking about the space. It's a beautiful space, and so it's really a privilege to be able to have an exhibition here.